Hello there, and thank you for joining me yet again. And if you're new here, thanks for clicking on the video. I'm actually in an area that I'm going to be doing some wild camping in, which is nothing but valleys, steep dropping valleys down to rivers. You can't escape it. Every, I don't know, quarter of a mile you hit another valley. There's no flat ground. If I pan you around, you can see the terrain I'm on, and it's not, you know, going to come up as steep as what it is here, but I'm leaning back into the ground. And over there is the woodland I'm going into. I've recce'd it. Very difficult for to find a level place to actually put a camp up, but I think I can make something work. It's a lovely woodland, native, but it's got a little bit of history I've got behind it. But first off, I've got to get over there, so let's make tracks. Well, I have got a sweat on. This Bergen is a little bit heavier than I usually like, but I brought everything but the kitchen sink. But it's a lovely little piece of woodland here, but it's kind of stuck in a bit of a it's in between some really steep valleys and river courses, and it's kind of like a little oasis. But as I said before, it's not by no means perfect. Nothing's level, and I'm going to struggle to find a pitch. But I'm determined to give it a go, because this is real, you know, pleasant, charming woodland. And I should imagine, from what I've seen so far, it's jam-packed full of wildlife. Right, I've dumped my Bergen, I've got my hoodie and neck gaiter off. I'm actually got a real sweat on. That is a real steep hill to climb, because basically I've gone down in a valley, and to get to this point I've had to climb out of it. The wood line pretty much ends in about 50 meters from here, but the location and the atmospherics and the surrounding you know, situation I'm in, I'll show you, you know, whether it be later on if I've got enough light, or tomorrow morning. But in any case, I should be able to get that little bit more light here, because most of the woodlands that I'm usually in are over on that side of the valley, so I get less light. I'm actually facing into the light, so the bonus should be an extra half hour of daylight. It's gloomy, it's overcast, it's not cold yet. We've got rain forecast, so I've got to make my shelter pretty tight, as in it's going to stick up to any wind and rain. The last thing I want to be is stuck here overnight and heavens open up and I get drenched. So let's make this happen. So there's my kit, like I've just described to you. I'll give you a quick pan around. It's only fair really to let you see where I'm to. And as you can see, it's a stunning location, but as you'll notice, all these bluebells aren't out like you will probably see in some of the other parts of the UK in other bushcrafting or wild camping videos. We seem to be lagging behind in this part of North Cornwall, just a few weeks behind the rest of the UK. The British Army basher is not really best suited to make a tent formation. You can make a tent formation, and that's what I'm going to do, but a lot of the civilian ones have more eye holes in them, which allows you to get better tucks and better angles, but you can still make a tent of sorts from it, and that is what I'm doing at the moment, because I need to stop the southwest winds coming in at me if it's going to be bringing rain. And I want to keep the frontage low and have like a bit of a porch just to allow me to have some shelter from any wind and eyes from a road which is about a quarter-mile away, which looks right down into this woodland. And that's the road I gained access from to get here. So yeah, basically an axe, and I'm making a peg at the moment. I will probably invest in the civilian tarp soon, because they have like better eye holes and more of them to make the configurations to make it more flexible. But yeah, don't knock this, you can still make something from it. So I've got my tarp tent set up. It's not pretty, but it's functional and it does the job. And I've just come out of there after putting my sleeping bag and foam mat down, and it was warm in there already. The temperature difference from the wind hitting me here to being in there is substantial. Yeah, I'll let you have a quick little look. Like I said, the British Army military one, there are better ones on the market to do all the configurations, but as with the British Army equipment, you can fudge it or make something from it that will work. So there it is in all its glory. It's going to keep me dry, and I've got a little porch. I haven't done it too big. Quite simply, I want to stay low, but I'm pegged to the ground here, as you can see. I've got the angles, but the front, there isn't the eyelets to enable you to make the full configuration like you can with civilian tarps. I've got it with a bungee strap, just pulling back the actual flap. And as you can see, I've got a nice trail off for water to run off. I've also got it tied off here on the back, running down to a dead piece of wood. And as you can see from the back, if I come back, I'm pretty low profile, and there's a really steep angle. The water will literally run off. I started to centralise my kit here. I've got the lantern. I'm going to test out a lantern. I've always used torches, even from when I was a young boy. We've used to use candles in jam jars, and we've done that, but I've never used an oil lantern, or a hurricane lantern. So I'm going to try that and see how it actually performs in a wild camping situation, not like a cabin or, you know, a vehicle-borne camping expedition. Well, I suppose you want to have a look inside this tarp tent, because ultimately it's where I'm going to be. And you're probably thinking, if you're thinking, oh, that doesn't look too bad, you know, thank you very much. But if you're looking and thinking, what a mess, I'll take you inside so you can actually see what it's all about. So let's take a little look. I've got my sleep system already in there. And as you can see, there's plenty of room. Oh, by the way, because I'm a hiking stick maker, some people ask for rubber ferrules. I've got one each end, and as you can see up there, that's what's protecting the tarp and the ground sheet. But let's get in here. So I'm actually in, and like I said, it's, you know, really warm compared to being outside there. I've got to get a fire and get some food going, some wood prep, so I don't have time just to sit in here and admire my construction, but it will serve very well tonight. You're probably thinking, why have I built it on a bit of a slope? As I said before, where I am is just very steep valleys, and this is about as flat as you're going to get in this woodland. And some of the places are just completely like only an inch of soil before you actually hit the bedrock. You'll see that later on. So there you go, that gives you an idea of how much room. And obviously my kit will come in here beside me to protect it from any rain. We are due rain, I don't know how much, but as you can see there's plenty of room in here. I've managed to squeeze my fat self in here and I can kneel up. And I've got this area here to do a little bit of admin and sort my life out. Not enough to cook or do anything like that. But, you know, it's better than getting absolutely, you know, drenched. Obviously, most of you guys know I run a hobo stove, so I don't need vast quantities of wood. The only downside to that is you get very limited amount of warmth from it, but you still get that fire security and feeling. And, you know, once you do get it roaring, it does give off enough heat, you know, if you kind of get near enough to it to keep you warm. But, you know, a small pile of wood for me is going to be sufficient. Whereas if you was having like a, I don't know, 24-inch around fire pit, you know, you would have to spend probably an hour processing wood. I can do what I need to do in 20 minutes. Right then guys, I did say I'd give you the lay of the land and basically how the location is set up. So I'll do my very best without, I do not want to step out the tree line though, because people will be walking dogs on the top road. And where I gained entrance through the gate on the public footpath, may I add, it's a favourite for older people to stop with the dogs and admire the view, because it's a beautiful valley. So here's camp and it's completely set up. I've got my wood pile. The only thing I've got to do is get a fire going, and that'll be what I do as soon as I've done this for you. Lovely woodland, native, and on the opposite side there is actually a commercial. But if I bring you down here, you will start to see how steep it is. Now, it just rolls completely down over, as you can see, down to the river, and you've got the other side of the valley over there. But if I take you along here, you'll see something quite fascinating. Now, it looks destructive, and I guess it is, but it is a bona fide way of looking or managing the land. Now, yeah, like I said, it's going to look destructive to you guys, but I'm going to endeavour to get close enough to show you. Right, I'm having trouble to walk. The gradient on this, and it's covered in shale. This is absolutely, I do not want to slip all the way down on my ass. Now you might be able to see what's happened here. You can possibly see by this tree it's scorched. And you can see here, scorch marks all along here. And this has been burnt. Well, all this ground here has been managed by burning back the gorse and bracken. Now this complete hillside here used to grow strawberries about 100 years ago, and they were sent on the train to all the big cities for all the wealthy and you know, the privileged that could afford strawberries 100 years ago to eat. But this land here no longer produces strawberries. It's just managed like this to stop the gorse and the bracken completely taking over the whole of the hillside. But if I try to walk up here, I do not want to slip. You can clearly see it looks like it's had several napalm bombs dropped completely on it. You'd think it would kill everything, but it doesn't. You can see there's baby ferns already coming through. And if I go further out, the problem is the rabbits are eating all this new growth, but there's loads of it. You see all this new growth coming through? And it's like this across the whole valley. Now this here obviously was a trackway to gain access to that strawberry ground there, and like I said, that it gets sunlight here, that part of the valley, so it's obviously prime strawberry growing territory down here. And if I walk 20 to 30 meters outside this little piece of woodland, I come to the top of this hill. As you can see, I'm broaching it. There's agricultural ground there. Over there, about half a mile away, is a massive factory. We can see it from my place, which is several miles away from here, and it lights the sky up. It's a big factory. And if I come over here, I'm going to see if I can get out a bit more into the light. I don't want to expose myself too much. You can see that brown, a bit of ploughed field there. The green strip is because it starts to go too steep, it drops off. But the tree line there denotes a lane, and it runs all the way along here with gates that overlook this valley. That's why I've got to be a little bit careful. As you can see, I'm pretty far back in. The only thing that will give me away is the fire if I start too early. Obviously smoke, and obviously that lantern, and that's my biggest concern with it. But in this woodland, as beautiful as it is, it's steep. And like I said, well, as soon as I got here, I had to strip off because I built up a massive sweat bringing up that Bergen. But down the bottom of here is another water course, and I didn't want to go down to there because obviously midges and insects. And over here you'll see where a little bit of activity's been happening, where they've been taking the actual rock away for construction of buildings many years ago, but it has undermined it. And I wouldn't want to be attempting to, you know, wild camp here anyway, because you can see there's been a break off and a load of it has just slipped completely down. That could seriously ruin your day. It's just broke completely off from there. That sun is really bright, and this is why I was saying that it gets the sun. It's really bright. Other woodlands, it would be getting dark, and I'd be thinking about getting straight into the evening routine already. But down here is obviously the service track, which would have gone to the top of that hill, you know, to allow them to harvest those strawberries. And here's the remnants of what I can only guess is some sort of plough or harrow, something of that nature. And when this was last used, like I said, 100 years ago, or roughly then, it would have been earning its keep to produce strawberries. Now I'm walking down to the public footpath, and I've gone a fair distance, but there's some impressive rock formations there, and it's always impressive to see the trees clinging there, and you wonder how they've got so big doing so. So I'm pretty much down to the public footpath now, and it's a nice you know, scenic track, not walked by many people because it is a little bit out of the way, but yeah, the general public can meander along this track at the bottom of this valley pretty much for about another half a mile till they come to a major main road. You could be taking your life in your hands if you're trying to walk along that one. And sadly, a couple of days ago, somebody in a motor accident on that piece of road did lose their life. It's a major road, and obviously, you know, with that comes all the incidents and that, so I wouldn't want to walk on that. So basically, you know, you walk this till a few houses at the end of it, and from there, most people would turn back. But yeah, I came over there, but I'm going back to camp, and I'm going to start getting that fire going. I forgot to mention I did actually have the privilege to speak to the gentleman, and he must have been in his 80s, who was talking about his family members. I think it was his dad that farmed this land for strawberries. So yeah, you know, that gives you an indication of how far back in time we're talking. And I've got my breath and heart racing there, coming back up and trudging around here. Like I said, these are very, very steep hills. They're small, short and steep, and they're quite high. That pretty much sums up the area I live in, to be honest with you. When I used to do a lot of running, you know, because I used to have to do tests. I can't remember if they're twice or once a year, but in any case, you know, it was always hard work. But in any case, I'm drinking a rosé cider, and from Magners. I'm not endorsing their brand, but because I'm in Cornwall and from the West Country, it's cider all the way down here. I'm kind of roasting these pork loins, and they're actually smelling lovely in there now. I've got just enough temperature to cook them without actually, you know, rushing it. I'm in no hurry. I've got time to kill here. I've just turned them over and they're lovely and white on this side here now. So I'm reckoning probably about another 10 minutes. You can hear them sizzling away in there. It's a glorious sound. Right then guys, I'm just going to say this, and I'm not going to labour the point, but if you're on a budget, you can cook actually with mess tins. They've served a lot of people well over the years. There's better things, Dutch ovens, you know, cast iron products, you know, they obviously do a better job, but you can still cook for yourself in the outdoors with a pair of mess tins. I'm going to actually eat this pork in a moment, and once I've done that, I'm going to get the pasta going. I could use 2 mess tins and do it separately and eat it as a meal, as a complete meal that you would do at home. But I'm going to eat the pork, then I'm going to do the pasta in that afterwards. So I'll still get my food, and it will still taste absolutely gorgeous out here. So, you know, just throwing it out there. If you're on a tight budget, a pair of mess tins, job's done. Now, my whole setup is really simple, and it's pretty much born out of what I did as a child when I basically learnt about the outdoors. And we didn't have the knowledge that, you know, bushcrafting and wild camping was actually a legitimate hobby or a pastime. It was just something that you went and did. So I've always made do and mend and manufacture most of my own stuff. Army surplus is a fantastic way to go, as you know, has been touted throughout all the bushcrafting, other YouTube channels. I'm lucky that some of my kit did actually come from, you know, my previous occupation within the military. But, you know, I've got no complaints, and I'll still carry on doing what I'm doing. And that's what I always say to people, you know, if you can just get outdoors with the basics, don't be so concerned that you need the high-end, top-end stuff, because ultimately you don't. Obviously, you can pick up a Bergen quite cheap. Mess tins, as I've just said, they're cheap. You can see, you know, this boiling vessel here, it's just a cheap one. And I've manufactured a little hole in it myself. You know, I've got a metal cup. basically I've got my firewood, I've got a cheap pair of cheap wipes, I've got some porridge, I've got some biscuits, I've got some emergency food. You know, you can't go wrong with tins. I've got some meat in there cooking, and if I spin you around, the tarp, you can pick them up from RB surplus dirt cheap if you don't want to go all out and buy one of the civvy ones. And this lantern, we actually got it when we were visiting relatives in Portugal for a grand sum of, I think, €5. I will see how it performs though tonight. Right, try these chops. Get onto my look at that, absolutely gorgeous. Got to bite into it without getting burnt now. Seat it right down. Ah, absolutely gorgeous. And it's not actually tough. It's actually just right. Yeah, I'm loving this. Well, that pork chops medallions, you know, whatever they were absolutely outstanding. Now my mac and cheese is just about done. It's just bubbling away here. And I know I've had to wait. I could have actually used 2 mess tins, but I've just used the same mess tin. And ironically, it's cleaning the tin as well. And I'm going to get a nice little pork flavour to my mac and cheese as well. So it's a win-win for me on that. Well, there you go. I think that's just about done. It's just how I like it. Looking really creamy. I'm going to get that back. And to be honest with you, it's done just in the nick of time because we're just starting to lose light now. This is going to really fill me up and set me up for tonight. The temperatures hasn't dropped too bad. I'm feeling a little bit of a chill, but I need to get my warm kit on. But it's the rain or impending rain. I'm hoping I can actually bypass it and get right the way through to till I pack up and go. But you know, your luck probably won't hold out, so I'm expecting rain. So I'm going to probably put a bit of firewood actually inside the actual tent, just to give me my best chance in the morning to get that fire going. Once it's going, the heat will dry out some of the wood and I can scavenge enough around here. But, you know, it's just get that initial, like, flash off. But, yeah. This is just what I needed on top of that pork, just to finish it off. Mac and cheese. It'll sort of like give you that, you know, that filling feeling to go actually into your DOS bag, and that will take you through till tomorrow morning. It'll give you that warmth inside and that full feeling, and you can probably put up with anything then, to a degree. Right, you see me get some warm kit on. You know, obviously extremely warm, because this kit here, you know, with other stuff I supplement it with, takes me down to, you know, it's as much as I really want to handle. Now, on my person, I obviously keep my phone. I keep a head torch and a small little grandfather's pocket knife. Nothing else really. And, you know, once it starts getting to this kind of light, I've pretty much made my camp, and I'm not going to be wandering around. As you've seen here, there are rock ledges you could drop off. It's extremely steep. You know, you twist an ankle, break a leg, or hurt yourself here, it's going to be extremely hard for somebody to locate you if you haven't given, you know, an adequate amount of info on your location. My wife roughly knows where I am, so obviously if I was to put a call out and say, hey, look, you know, I'm in a bit of trouble here, emergency services could get to me. But the whole idea is to be safe and not have to think that is a legitimate response to anything you may be doing, you know, unsafe practices, just being stupid, being foolish, and not taking responsibility for your own actions out here in the woods and, you know, out in nature. So stay safe and, you know, have a good time by all means. But also be prepared to take responsibility for yourself when you're out in this environment. Well, it looks like the factory's main outside working lights have gone on. And like I said, you can see them miles and miles and miles away. It's still about half a mile away from me here, but it is like a little small town when that place lights up. I'm really enjoying this camp, and you know, I can't wait till I can bring my two youngest boys along with me. I would dearly love them here now, and I'm sure they'd love it. But the thing is, with young kids, they get cold, they get tired, they get, you know, a little bit frustrated with the situation. When they're a little bit older and they can understand, you know, we've come here and we're seeing it through till morning, you know, that's the time you really can consider taking them. Taking young kids and literally forcing them and, you know, telling them you will stay here no matter what, no matter that they want to get back to their nice warm bed, you know, and you just literally kill their enthusiasm to come out and do this. So I'm playing the long game and, you know, easy, slowly, and just get them gradually, you know, associating with the outdoors and the fact that they see Dad doing it and they want to come along and try it and be part of it as well. Well, I've got the fire really going well and I've got the lantern. Now, it's a Chinese one, like I said. I'm not 100% convinced of the quality, but at the moment it seems to be working okay. Was it worth bringing? It's already feeling really nice. It gives off a real good vibe. Yeah, so like I said, I've got no real experience with these hurricane lanterns, and I've never considered bringing one before. Quite simply, it just seemed like unnecessary hassle. But now it's here, I'm beginning to think I've been missing out. Right, I'm wasting a perfectly good fire here now. What I'm going to do is get a brew on. I haven't had a coffee, then I'll crack open that last cider. Just to get that out. Light is going here, but I don't need to put a torch on at the moment. I'll put some water in there first because that's raging hot. Because it's only very thin stainless steel, it actually warps quite badly, you know, straight away if you put it on real hot heat. There. Alright, put the lid. There. Cup of coffee in a few moments time. Right then guys, if you are new to you know, wild camping, bushcraft, and you're out at this time of day, just before it gets dark, you can get swept up in the moment. You know, it's a fantastic moment just before light goes. You've got your fire going, you know, you've got a light going, and it all feels, you know, the moment feels really fantastic. But there's one thing that you must bear in mind. You know, you will lose things in the dark. It's inevitable, and you will not find them in the morning. Get your kit squared away. Everything that is valuable to you, or you know you'll need, put it somewhere safe now. It only takes a few seconds, and then it's there for you in the morning. The lighter or matches you're going to use for a fire, your knife that you put on the ground because you were cooking or processing wood, will suddenly vanish. Just sort your kit out, square it away before the last of the light goes, and then sit back and enjoy it, because ultimately you'll be enjoying it, and then suddenly the moment will come you'll need that item and it's not there, and you'll be swearing and kicking your heels and saying, why didn't I just put that away when I knew I should have put it away? This is what you call wild camping. The thing with the hobo stove is, once you get it up to temperature, and if you've got real dry wood, you can put substantial pieces in, like this here, and that will last me a good 20 minutes. And, you know, I can walk away and know this fire is going to keep going. It's not going to run out. It has to be dry when you put it in at that size. But like I said, when you're running on twigs, you are literally feeding it every 5 minutes. That'll give me 20 minutes before I got to put another one in. Well, it's about 11 o'clock. The fire is just embers, and I've drunk the last of my ciders, and I've just crawled inside the tarp tent setup. Instantly, like I said earlier, warmer than ordinary tarp setup. That's a given, because obviously you've got more exposure to the elements and outside. As cozy as this is, I do miss having more access to the environment, if I use that word, you know, where you can lie in your DOS bag and look all the way around you and actually see the forest. From here, I've only got access through the small entrance into the tarp tent, which is okay. I'm enjoying this, and I think the tarp tent will definitely be deployed on colder, wetter expeditions that I do, and I will revert back to the traditional setups that I use. It's good to have the whole range of skills and different setups that you can use with a tarp under your belt, but yeah, this feels slightly more claustrophobic than what I usually like if I'm in a tarp. But you know, horses for courses, and I think I won't need all this warm kit tonight, but I'll find out and I'll let you know in the morning. Right, cheers. Well, the first bird started singing at about 4 o'clock, but I'd been up since about 3:30. I went to go to the toilet, and I got back into the tarp, and I could not switch off. I was just just thinking about things and everything like that. And I thought to myself, why am I just lying here, just staring into space? Because I wasn't switching off. So I went and done myself a coffee, and I put my army jacket down by the fire, and I drifted off again out here, and it was the most relaxing, peaceful, resting moment I think I've had. I'm not even sure I was fully gone. All I know is I jolted to come round, and I was I feel really refreshed. But yeah, that was quite random, but yeah, I'm going to turn the light off now and just wait for it to get light enough to do breakfast. Well, it's coming to an end. I was actually watching a fox earlier, and he was going along the hedgerow. It's about 300 metres out on the opposite side of the valley, actually. That's how steep it is here. It drops down and comes straight back up. Yeah, so the lantern. Well, I really did not know what I was missing for this type of camp. The atmosphere it provides, and the light, the practical light. It's a constant light, not like a torch you turn your head and the light is moving with you. That's fine, but that just gives a radius of light. You're able to control it, so you know, it's not too high or too low. It's a Chinese one, I've obviously said, so I'm not, I might possibly invest in a better quality one. But ultimately, yes, I really don't know what I've been missing actually for this type of camp. Not practical for a hiking kind of camp, or you know, it will still be torches for that type of camping. But for this type of setup, I will definitely bring it along again. I really enjoyed that. The Tarp tent setup, it's a fantastic setup. And I can't understate that. I mean, I was really warm. It wasn't overly cold last night, but I was super warm inside that. Obviously, it stands to reason. You've got possibly 90% of your coverage all around you is completely covered. So you're not going to get the wind, which is obviously what, you know, makes you cold ultimately. Yeah, so that was a fantastic setup, and it proves yet again you do need to have a bit of knowledge of various tarp setups, so that when you go to a location you can choose the best one for that location. Only knowing perhaps one setup or using one particular setup time and time again will limit your enjoyment or the places you can actually stay with a tarp. But yeah, that worked fine, and I'd thoroughly recommend anybody who doesn't know how to do a tarp tent, have a go. I did state that the British Army one isn't the best one to do that type of configuration, and I still stand by that. You can get civilian ones that will provide you with a better tarp tent setup, but you can still manufacture a tent setup with that tarp. Yeah, and then you come back to mess tins. Mess tins, well, you can get better cooking vessels like cast iron, skillets, Dutch ovens. Yes, there's a raft of things you can cook outdoors on. Mess tins are possibly at the very bottom end of the scale, but they do work, and I've used them to cook, you know, since forever. And yeah, they do work. So if you're on a budget, you know, don't feel that you have to go all out. Mess tins will get you started at least, and if you're like me, you'll probably realize that you can manage with them. Yeah, so this has been a thoroughly enjoyable camp. I'm just going to get my coffee down my neck. I'm going to do the last sweep and clear up, and then leave no trace, and yeah, get everything packed up, and I'm going to make my way to the road where I'm going to be picked up. And then it's well, it's the bank holiday, so all my time now will be allocated to the wife and kids. I'm not even going for a surf this bank holiday. So I did that. I had a surf during the week, and a really good one. So yeah, family time from here on in. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and you've seen this you know, wild camp at its best. I mean, this has been, I will say, this has been up with, you know, some of the best wild camps I've had. So, you know, not the location in particular. It's a nice location, don't get me wrong, but I do have a few others which are absolutely total stunners. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. So stay safe, and I hope to catch you guys out on the trail. This is Andy from Hidden Valley Footpaths. Take care, all the best, and I hope to see you guys again.